What's up, reefers? Happy Thursday. Happy Friday for those of you in the other part of the world. So Lauren, thank you so much and good morning to you. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. You look so chipper already. I'm sure you've had lots of coffee. Your lights are on. So
That's good.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I have to admit, you have definitely been an inspiration for me in the fun aspect of reef keeping. The way that you bring humor and TikTok videos into it is something that I think folks like myself and I'm sure many other reefers just see that as a high barrier. And I'm definitely keen to get into a little bit of that with you and to understand, how and why you chose to use TikTok and some entertainment to bring levity to it. But before we get to that, maybe give us viewers a little bit of an overview about yourself, about when you got into reefing, a little bit about the tanks there behind you, and everyone else will be joining in a second.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm from Australia and Western Australia. I actually grew up in Sydney and now I'm down the very west coast of Australia. So I've always had fish forever and ever. I've always had fish in any way I could throughout my life, and it's only in the last, say, 2 years now that I got into reef keeping because the guy at the local fish shop finally, I was very scared to take that step.
Away.
And he's like, he really convinced me into giving it a go, and I'm so glad he did. And so so I about 2 years doing reef keeping now, and I guess a lot of what I like to do is I remember how scary it was to take that first step at the beginning, and with lots of the opinions, and it was very confusing at the beginning. So I guess that's still very fresh in my mind. So I like to try and encourage other people to take that step and not to be scared of it. So that's my main thing with what I do with my channel and the fun side of things, I guess. So I think that
maybe a quick overview of the two tanks that we can see from behind you.
Yes.
What do you got in there? What's your plans with them?
So I've got this is my 6-foot tank. I've just got very easy to keep corals, soft corals, lots of soft corals, anemones and stuff like that. I've got big tangs and stuff like that in there. I absolutely love
they're monsters. If you guys haven't followed on her channel or her pictures, they're seriously like monsters.
Yeah, absolutely. So, very low maintenance tank, that one. And then I've also got my water box tank behind me. So I've only got one fish there at the moment. It's been such a huge learning curve between the two tanks with so much water volume here and then such a small tank. I learnt very quickly how fast things can happen when you've got such,
I think that's a great topic, because most people think starting off small, it's easier, but you can contest to a larger tank is much more stable than having a smaller tank, because the parameters can go out of whack so much faster with smaller volume. Yeah,
absolutely. So that's been my latest challenge with that tank. And I guess I'm starting off with dry rock and stuff like that. So there's definitely a few things that I might have done differently if I could do it again. But
that's what this hobby is all about. But one of the beautiful things is you're close to some pretty pristine water, and we've seen some of your videos. You going out and doing water tests, out in the water. And I'm curious. I live in Los Angeles, close to the water. I've lived in Hawaii, New Zealand, Asia, and proximity to the water has always been important to me. For you, moving from Sydney, also by the water, to Western Australia, how has proximity to clean water been something that you've looked at differently or changed the way that you think about reefing, in terms of either being able to collect it to do a water change or just seeing things in a natural environment? I'm always curious, because not everyone has that ability to get water from their backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. Where I live, it's honestly like a 5-minute drive to the beach. And it wasn't, I think I did a video just around Christmas time where I finally was like, I need to go and actually test the water parameters. And I actually found it so interesting going, and I find with the saltwater hobby in itself, just going and seeing the natural parameters, and then also going and seeing fish and corals in its natural environment when you've got them in your tank is such a cool feeling. So I guess going out and testing the parameters was like, oh, that's actually really cool to see because I don't know, the ocean's there all the time and you just never know. So, I mean, for myself at least, I've never gone into that. So, went out and tested the water, and went out and did it a few times. And then I decided, because a lot of people in Australia that have access to, the ocean do go and collect natural seawater. So I started doing that for the 6-foot tank. So, it's been really interesting to see, to learn about that. And, I love the ocean. And even I've got Australian stripies, which I don't know how easy they are to get over anywhere else in the world.
They're so hard to get here. I'm envious because of they'll do wonders on Abstasia. So they're very hard to get over here. Yeah.
So I mean, I haven't gone to any of the reefs in Australia yet, and that's a dream for me. So I'll definitely get to the Great Barrier Reef one day. And but I went even more up north because the water where I am is quite cold. So more up north, I went there, and just seeing Australian stripies all off all off this jetty that I was at, I'm just like, oh god damn, it's very cool. Like, I can't even imagine what it would be like to go and see, coral reefs and fish in real life when you've got it at home. I think you get a whole new appreciation for it.
And I know your buddy Mike, had talked about that when he's done his diving and his aquascaping, that he takes inspiration from nature. And I think those that have the ability to get to the water or are diving see the tank differently, see the fish and corals in their natural environment, and can emulate it in a slightly different way than you can just looking at pictures or creating a replicated reef. Some of those like fine details of the context, it just changes when you're there looking down on it, and you're like, wow, and instead of having like a chalice coral laying flat, most of the time in the wild, they're actually like this off the side of a rock. And like just those little things that you pick up, it's like, I can do that differently.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's very cool. Yeah. So
I remember when you did that video around the holidays, and I think one even before that, where you were walking to the beach, and you see through this bush, and then you make your way to the water, and it looked really beautiful.
Yeah, no, it is a beautiful place down here. So it's awesome.
Well, I hope that you are able to get up, to either to Darwin or to definitely the Great Barrier Reef to see some stuff there, because you may be trading out those tangs for something else.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I've got a little salmon. What's doing? Okay. Sorry.
No, it's totally okay. We are family friendly.
He's always wanted to be in he's always trying to be in my videos.
No, that's okay. Join as you like, and thank you for everyone who's been joining the stream so far. For those of you who just joined, we're here with Lauren, talking a little bit about reefing in Western Australia. And more importantly, some of the fun aspects that she brings to it. And so, maybe we'll get into that. And one of the things that I'd say the hobby is kind of known for is being serious and being a little bit of a sticklers on certain things. And I think that you've been a great inspiration for people to step outside of that need to be so serious, so scientific all the time, and to bring that levity and fun to the hobby. And like your stories and your TikTok videos are hilarious. The ones where you said, like, for example, those of you who may not seen, she did one recently where, I guess a friend comes over to the house and this is what they see, and emulating that versus what other people would see. And, you bring so much charisma and fun into it that you can't help but being sucked into it and laugh along. And so I'm just, curious, what prompted you to start to use humor as a way to bring people into the community, into the idea of reefing from a different perspective?
Yeah, I think I think I love TikTok. I look at TikTok and I'm like, some people just have the best sense of humor. I always like to have a good laugh myself. So, yeah, and I feel like with social media, there can be such a expectation on, or, you can be looked down on for sharing too much of a certain thing. And, I've seen it with other people, like Scooby-Doo. His reels are absolutely, amazing. But I feel like, I just got to the point where I'm like, I'm just going to share what I enjoy doing, and I enjoy having fun and sharing, my passion for the hobby. So I just got to the point where I'm like, I actually don't, there's going to be so many pages that can, just do the serious side, but, that's what, makes me tick, and that's what I like to do. So I'm just going to share that. And, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Absolutely not. But it's just, something that I'm just going to make content that I enjoy doing, and I have fun making them. And so I think that's why, I kind of got to the point where I'm like, actually, because people, have all sorts of opinions on, what you should be sharing, and, it has to be, I feel like there's almost like a social norm of a ratio of,
yeah, of course,
pictures you should be sharing. And I'm just like, whatever. I'm just going to, if I have an idea, I'm just going to post it. I don't care about the ratio anymore. It's just, I'm going to put out what I enjoy making. So,
But I think that's what makes it fresh. Your kind of irreverent attitude towards it is something I think, myself and others find enjoyable, because it's just such a breath of fresh air, and honestly, there's so much great content already out there, but being able to see the way that you present it, it's enjoyable. There's some of the challenges, that you and two had done recently and stuff. It's just, I think it also makes the world of reefing that much smaller, right? Because
absolutely.
I think generally it's kind of understood that reefing is a global hobby, and a lot of us have friends overseas, and that's nothing new. But I think the way to use a challenge, whether it be like the sneaker challenge or the shoe challenge or the dance challenge, any of these that have gone on recently, it just makes this community even smaller and even tighter. And I think that I really do see you at the forefront of a lot of that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. That is, for one, I find it so cool that you can go on, Instagram and social media and just be able to connect with people from overseas and just share that passion and, share the experiences, and almost, being able to have a laugh about, things, because I feel it's, I'm always up for a laugh. So that's just, and being able to share that with other people is, that's what I'm all about. And I love seeing other people like Scooby-Doo just absolutely killing it as well with, making people laugh and having, making the hobby, a fun place as well. So I love that.
It's definitely great. And even right now, we got folks on from Poland, from Mexico. How you doing, Miguel? And obviously, a couple of folks just waking up in Australia to join as well. So definitely, and we tried to use, the Tank Talk series as a way to bring reefers together globally. And I had Sam Parker on recently, and Mike was on as well a little while before that. And we really try to bridge the geographic boundaries. And over the coming weeks, our plan is to have different reefers from South America, a couple more from the US and in Europe as well, because I think that just brings a different spirit to the channel, and to show what reefing practices are like in different places. Because just like your fish selection, we can't necessarily get all that in the US. So what you take for granted is something that a lot of us here, we're like, man, I wish I had that.
I know, it's like that, isn't it?
I mean, and obviously you get so much corals at your disposal as well, because they just have to fly across the country. So most of the time, all of us are jealous over here about what you can get and how cheap you can get it.
Yeah, that's it. And then you guys get stuff and we're like, holy dooly, like bumblebee gobies and stuff like that. We can't get that over here, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it's very interesting to see. Yeah,
and I'm always amazed how the shrimps are so expensive there, whether it be a blood shrimp or a cleaner shrimp. $100 for a shrimp. It's so insane. But again, it's like different markets have access to different things, and I think that's what makes the hobby so interesting and makes people be drawn to certain things, is because of what's there naturally, but also what's available to get into that market.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's very, very cool.
And so I'm curious, you're starting up the second tank. What have you learned from your first tank that you've applied to the second tank? Obviously it's smaller and everything, but what big ahas did you have at the first, your 6-footer that you put into your cube?
I think just taking it slow. I think with the first tank, with your first tank, you're always like, I just really want to get everything in there really quickly. But I really like that, especially with the second tank, you're kind of a bit more, okay, it's fine. But I think, and even more so, like I thought I was taking it slow, and then I was like, I could even take it way more slower with a smaller tank. Like what I thought was slow for a big tank, I think it's even more for a smaller tank, because everything just happens so much quicker. So like it's been real, and even because I had issues with phosphates and nitrates and stuff like that with the small tank. And so I freaked out thinking, I've got to get, start dosing and, I've got to get those parameters up really quickly. And then I overdid it and went way the other way, and had too much. So, and I had issues with alkalinity and stuff like that. And so I used the Aquaforest, is it KH plus? Is it KH plus? Yeah. To get that up and, following the instructions. I was like, yep, no worries, this is perfect. And I raised it great, following the instructions. And then I went ahead and just way overdid it with dosing coral foods to try and get the phosphates up. Not following any instructions that I could have done if I'd gotten a product and followed it. And just because I reacted and was like, I have to get this fixed quickly, and added it way too much. Whereas, I should have done what I did with the, raising the alkalinity and gone slowly. Because it went way the other way. So it's finding,
But I think that's the great example of seeing just how fast it changes. Like when you have triple the amount of water volume, you could have added that same dosage and it probably wouldn't have done anything, right? And because you didn't measure, a third of that would have incrementally raised it. But now right? And so now it's like, okay, whatever I would do with my my big tank, it's going to be a fraction of that, and you go slow at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's good. So I think that's the main thing. And but I absolutely I got the Aquaforest starter kit for this this tank, and that's honestly been the biggest lifesaver, because everything that I've had an issue with, I've opened it up, gone, oh thank goodness it came with that. So it's been
And honestly, that's what the starter kit was designed for. It was to say, whether or not you get the ocean guard that comes with the starter kit, or you're starting up a system, and you're looking for everything in there. It's everything that you're going to need to get the tank going through those first couple months where things are in flux. Your phosphates are up and down, nitrates are all over the place. Alkalinity is swinging, and so being able to have some of that stuff on hand and in one place, right? So your experience, so you'll know what you can get as options. But some people, they may be their first tank and not necessarily knowing what's there. That starter kit helps to do that, and that's something that Aquaforest is looking to do more of these kits. For example, like a biological kit. So the rock, the sand, the bacteria. So you can buy, and all of that stuff will help you for some of these things.
Awesome.
Just kind of like a plug and play, making it easier, whether it's your first tank or your 10th tank, to be able just to make it that much faster to get it going to a point where you can then add other things to it.
Yeah, No, it's good. And when you first get a tank, you just like, there's so many things, you know, especially if you're a newbie to the hobby, there's so many different things that you can get. So I just love how it's like, bang, you sorted to get at least started. So yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what's your perspective on adding corals sooner or later to the system? You know, do you see that as a good biological incubator, or is that something like, I'm gonna wait until things are more stable? Where are you on that camp?
I reckon if I had live rock, I might have a different answer. But I feel, I don't know. See, I don't know if I stuffed it up by overreacting. And, you know, maybe if I didn't, you know, do that, it might have been okay. But, I mean, so many people go, add it. You can add corals from day one and, you know, do that. And, you know, maybe if, I feel like I just needed to maybe test a little bit more than I was doing. Especially with a small tank, I probably should have been testing, you know, daily for a while beforehand to understand my water maybe. And then, you know, I don't know, I'm the type of person now, I definitely didn't used to be, let's just get straight into it. But now I feel like hooly dooly, I'm just going to take things very slow. And especially with a small tank, if, you know, I'm more cautious of testing parameters and making sure I'm keeping on top of that at all times. Pretty much, I mean, until I get my head around the natural flow of it, especially with SBS, because that's what I'm wanting, SBS acro tank in there. So, I mean, if it was softies, I would have been fine. But
of course. And what's your evaporation rate on that tank? I don't know what the humidity is where you are. Is it pretty bad, or do you get a pretty stable evaporation rate?
It's okay. How much is it? I think it's well, I've got that the auto top off section of the sump, and it holds about 7 liters, and I have to top it up every 4 days. So I don't
just
know.
over a liter a day.
Yeah. So but no, it's all right. It's all right. We'll get there.
That's not too bad. I'm between 4 and 6 liters a day. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Los Angeles is a lot drier than it is by you.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
So, and I just also really want to quickly to say hello to our friends in Portugal and Poland who have joined us. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Yeah, just
we're going across the world here. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. I think it's going to be excited to see some sticks in there and see that tank come to life. I can see the aquascaping a little bit from here, and you know, obviously seeing some of your pictures on Instagram, and I think it's going to grow out to be a really cool tank.
Yeah, we will get there. That's for sure. Yeah.
Hey, remember, nothing in this hobby happens fast.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just gonna take it slow, and from now, I think I'm gonna see how we go. Wait for the rocks to sort of establish a bit more, and then might give it a go with some SBS and acros and stuff again. Yeah,
start slow in that. And have you thought about what your fish list is going to be?
I actually really wanted to get what are they called? Banggai cardinals. I actually really wanted to do a really nice school of them, but you can't find them anywhere. I don't know where. In Australia, at least, I feel like they've dropped off the face of the planet to be able to buy them. So, just trying to see if I can get hold of some captive bred ones from up north and Western Australia. So, but I think that's probably my goal, just to have that, and then just have the corals as the main sort of showpiece in that tank, because I've got my big fish over here, and I just think a nice little schooling fish would look cool in that tank. So that's my main goals in that one.
Well, anyone in Australia, Western Australia, who's watching this, please feel free to reach out to Lauren. Her Instagram is tied into the comments below, so reach out to her and help her out if you can.
Yeah, thank you.
I think the bangies will be nice. They're great fish, and they add a nice little contrast, especially if you can get them to breed. Your kids will be happy to see the little babies in there.
That would be cool.
They're definitely a good, fun sight to see. Then probably you'll set up a third tank with all the babies.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it starts, eh?
Yes.
Oh no, another tank.
it happens that way. Yeah. My fish had babies. I have to have another tank.
Yeah, absolutely. No, good.
Well, that'll be awesome to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm curious, in Australia, have you noticed that there's been a greater trend in more women in reefing over the last little bit, maybe with COVID and beyond, or do you still largely see it's predominantly a male dominated hobby there?
Definitely more male dominated, but I feel like women are I'm seeing more women pop up doing stuff, which is awesome. So yeah, but it's definitely in reefing seems to be, at least on the Facebook groups, it seems to be very male dominated. But hopefully we can change that and encourage some women. And that I'd love to see more women get into the hobby, and not to be scared off by, I think sometimes women can see it as a bit of a boys club, and
Sure.
I don't want it to be like that. So hopefully we can encourage more women into the hobby, and not to be scared off by that sort of stuff. So
there's one thing that I've noticed with COVID is that the hobby has become much more family oriented. As people are home more, right? It's really kind of changed some of these things. And there's some recent posts that people posting like who's your reef supporter, and they have their kids there. And so I think that there's an ongoing trend and a shift towards it being more of a family hobby. And if anything, the parents bringing their kids into it to see. And I know, like, for example, my dad had a tank my whole life until just recently he took it down. My daughter loves being around my tank and stuff. And so it's one of these things that it's a good teachable moment for families to show them about fish and husbandry and compassion, right? Of another living animal. So I see that's changing a little bit, and
absolutely.
It brings a lot of hope, that it's not just, an old boys club, but whether it's posted on social media or not, that, families are a part of the hobby and talking about, fish and reefing in a, a more inclusive way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed that on, Instagram and stuff like that, people, even if it is a guy's tank, he'd be getting his daughter in and doing stuff, and seeing that next generation of, both men and women that are, so interested in the tanks and the fish. And it's cool to see. Absolutely.
I'll tell you, my daughter loves going through the Aquaforest calendar and all the clownfish in there, and she calls them broop, 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 broop. So she'll be like broop, broop, and she'll flip it over, broop, broop. So right now, December is her favorite clownfish. So, but it's my calendar is next to my tank, and she loves every day, every morning. She has to go and has to take it off the wall, and she has to point to it and play with it a little bit. So I think that kids are naturally curious to it, and the more like I saw your kids checking out the tank there. That we can bring them into it. I think that it will help them to also preserve the reefs as well, and have a respect for the environment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know my son, one time I went into class and saw he had they had to do a story about they had to make, write some information on something, and he did he's on the cleaner wrist, and I was like, oh, I'm so proud. I went in and I was like, oh, cleaner us. I love it. So,
that's awesome.
It's awesome when your kids show interest, and it's great to be able to pass that on. And you definitely have a greater respect for the fish and the corals and stuff like that when you have them there. So definitely it'd be cool to teach them how to look after them, and hopefully generations to come, if there are, issues with natural coral reefs, that us as hobbyists can give back to that and contribute to that because of our love and passion for it. So I love that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day that my daughter can start doing water changes for me.
Yes, absolutely. Or they can scrape the glass without getting really close to the silicone edge. I'm like,
exactly.
Clean it for you. Like every time, just not close to the corners, please.
That's what you got to put like duct tape around so they can't pull the magnet low enough or around it. I think someone should do a reef hack for reefing with kids. All the things that kids could damage in the process of how we can find a way to make our tanks more baby proof.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I can give a simple example on that is, before I had all my display of my controllers and my dosing pumps and all my chemicals out, full visible.
Yeah.
Then, 2 kids later, it's all packed away, hidden, lock, key, duct taped, closed. And it's just like, it just changes,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
these are the
absolutely.
things we have to do.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, it's good. No, it's
No, that's
exciting.
awesome. And I know it's super early in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, so I won't keep you up much longer. I know you've got to get the kids ready in your day yourself, but I want to thank you for taking the time to share with us both the fun side and some
Yep.
more serious sides of the hobby for you. And before I
Yep.
let you go, any other final thoughts that you want to leave with people who watch this about yourself or about just how you approach the content that you generate?
I would encourage other people to just get out there and share their journeys and just get out there and do what makes you happy. And if you do share, just do what you enjoy doing. Don't be put off by people who are very serious about things all the time. Just get out there and share. Don't be afraid to go out and share. That's what I would say. And just have fun with it. And definitely go and look. Yeah, I think there's so much fun to be had with it. So definitely, there's heaps of places like Scooby-Doo and stuff like that. And you guys all having fun with reels and getting out there. So I love it. I love watching.
It was great to have them over and to hang out with
Yes.
them. Yeah, him and
Yeah,
Alex and so long. It was
great.
fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your time with us and bestowing
Thank
some
you.
knowledge and
Thanks for
wisdom.
coming.
And again,
Yeah.
reefers, if you guys have questions, comments, feel free to hit them down below and subscribe to not only the Aquaforest channel, but to Lauren's channel as well. And again, her Instagram is down below. Feel free to reach out and say hello and see some of the awesome content that she has. So until next time, happy reefing.
See ya.